Why do you think offensive line is so bad in today's NFL compared to the days past?
Because they made guys like smaller, and it's more about like finessing, and it's not like their guys are smaller. So now it's like you have bigger defensive ends who are moving these guys. You know, before you have guys like me, they're more about you being able to be mobile and moving.
There aren't many Bryant McKinnies walking around, bro.
I know, but they're still bigger, like heavier guys. But they're more about like cutting people off and being quicker, but they're not as big.
Got you. So you think that the guys are just too small?
They've gotten smaller, yeah.
Really?
But
So
the defensive linemen haven't. So you look at like what's the defensive end from is it Cleveland?
oh yeah, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, like
What a
these guys
monster.
are like yes, and then
Monster.
you have Aaron Donald, like they're bigger guys too, but you don't have like your guys who can anchor down on these type of guys.
So David Deal told me, another friend of the program, great Giant. He thinks it's because you guys don't practice in pads much anymore. The guys don't actually hit. They don't actually block, and there's no way to
Because they're trying to save people for the field.
They're trying to save people for the field, but it's like a fighter that doesn't spar.
Yeah,
you know,
You're
and
trying to
that's what
protect
he
yourself
said.
So
you know,
much. Yeah, you got to get that real game look.
yeah, he said that you know you got to pop pads to know what's what. You know, and you can't really work this stuff in t-shirts and shorts.
Right.
That's what he thinks. I don't know.
It's kind of true, but still at the end of the day, I feel like
It's just the size thing.
it's just the
Is,
guys
is that
aren't
because the
same.
games become so pass pro heavy that they?
That's what I'm saying. It's more. That's why I say it's more finesse. It's not like everything's like pass blocking and cutting people off at angles and not just going downhill and just mauling people. You know.
Yeah.
It's changed.
Now you had a great running back behind you in Minnesota, huh? Did you have Adrian Peterson behind you?
did.
And then it was you and that great. Who was the guard? That great guard.
Steve Hutchinson.
Steve Hutchinson. And I mean, you guys rushed for 1,500, 2,000 yards every damn year. I mean, you guys had some years
We
there.
had
Dante Culpepper.
We have the record for the most yards in one game because of Adrian Peterson, and when he did it against San Diego against LaDainian Thompson.
Yeah.
So he took that record against
From him.
Yeah.
Wow.
In that game.
Head to head, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So what was it? It was 2002 when you joined Minnesota. Is that correct? So you were with Minnesota when Randy Moss was there, Adrian Peterson.
Twice.
Randy Moss was there twice.
Right.
Left and then came back. Wow. What was it like playing was that Dennis Green was coaching over there?
No, it was the first year of Mike Tice.
Mike Tice.
That was his first year. Yeah, Dennis Green had just left when I got there.
So they just had that huge loss to the Giants in the NFC Championship game. Kerry Collins drops a 40 burger on them. And before that, they had before the Patriots went on vengeance against the NFL, they had the greatest offense of all time with Randall Cunningham chucking it to Chris Carter and a young Randy Moss handed it off to Rod Smith and then lost to the freaking Morton Anderson. Misses the field goal and they don't go to the bowl, man. They lose to the Atlanta Dirty Bird Falcons. And we got to get Chandler. We got to watch Chandler get chewed up in the Super Bowl. That might be a little young for you there.
A
little bit. Yeah, but I tell you, you want to play with an unstoppable team besides Mike Vick and Madden? Oh, my God, that Minnesota Vikings team was unreal. So you go from that Minnesota Vikings team, and then you end up in Baltimore. How's that happen?
How that happened is they wanted me to restructure my contract, and I didn't want to. It was an opportunity. I feel like, how many I've been there for 9 years? It was an opportunity for me to like kind of leave and get a fresh start somewhere else, and that was something I kind of wanted. Like I was there with Brett Favre, and that was the closest I had ever been to even getting to a Super Bowl.
Gotcha.
AFC Championship, and we lost in New Orleans by a
Threw the
field
ball
goal.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, but we had 5 turnovers, so it wasn't even just that play. We had 5. We had a fumble on the 2-yard line going in. We just had 5 turnovers that we just normally wouldn't have had, and still lost by a field goal. And then they changed that rule.
Yeah.
Right after that game,
Yeah.
so now you couldn't lose. Like both teams now will get
They have to get the
possession.
ball.
Right. So they changed that after us, but we came back, and then they tried to drag Brett back that following year, and he didn't really want to come back, but he came back. And then when I had the opportunity to leave, I was just like, this is my opportunity. Let me just see what else is out there. And
Minnesota's cold in the winter, boy.
It is. Luckily, it's a dome, except when our dome collapsed that one year.
Yeah.
And we were outside for
30 inches of snow.
Yeah, we were outside for the last couple of days. Games.
University of Minnesota, right?
With a field that's frozen.
It's a little different than the U.
Right. But I ended up going there basically because Ray Lewis just wouldn't allow me to kind of scout other teams. I was trying to see where else was a good fit. I mean, you had Michael Orr in Baltimore, a whole movie called Blindside. So I'm like, well, y'all sure he wants to move to be a right tackle? Because I'm not coming to play right tackle. I'm a left tackle. And they're like, he doesn't mind. And then Ed Reed finally called me too, and they just added on, the pressure, and I was like, all right.
They put the U back together.
They did.
Yeah.
They
And
put
I
the
never
U back
had
together.
I never had anybody from the University of Miami on my team the whole time I was in Minnesota.
That's
so.
why you didn't win a Super Bowl until you got
Right.
the
I told Ed Reed he's the only person I won a national championship and the Super Bowl with. Like,
He's some player, huh?
Mm-hmm.
He's some player. You had Ed Reed. You had
Who's some of your favorite teammates or guys who like either wild stories or just talented guys, good guys, funny guys?
Ed Reed's definitely my
comes
favorite
out.
teammate.
Why
not
is that?
Fred Smoot.
Smoot is a character, huh?
No, he definitely is.
Yeah.
But
So
why Ed Reed? Why does Ed Reed?
We're the same year too, so like it was a lot of things, especially going into
Camaraderie.
camaraderie. But going into our senior year, we did a lot of things to bring the team together. So when I say things like we would go to workouts, then we would go to happy hour at like Red Lobster and just
Red Lobster.
places.
You imagine
Yeah,
walking into a Red Lobster and you see Ed Reed, Bryant McKinnie just eating some of them cheese rolls, man. I love those little hush puppy things. Oh
I
man.
feel like we did a lot, just to bring everybody together. You know what I mean? And being the leaders, our senior year, and so then for us to be able to reunite and then kind of get back and win a championship too, it's just like okay,
That's got to be wild, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Won
gotta
a
be good
championship
feeling.
with Ken Dorsey and Joe Flacco.
Wow.
they're like similar kind of too, aren't they? Like,
A little bit. Why do you think Ken Dorsey didn't translate to the? I mean, he's doing great as an offensive coordinator for the Bills now. Why do you think he didn't translate to the NFL?
I don't know.
What was he like as a quarterback?
He had a great protection in college. In the NFL, it might not have been as good, so it could cause different things that make him.
It's a little different when you're not throwing Andre Johnson and Jeremy Shockey and you don't have
That
Clinton
too.
Portis in the backfield.
And they say that a lot with quarterbacks. Like they say why, like Rodgers and like the guys who go to like smaller schools and they have less separation when they don't have the most talented.
It translates
the best
better
guys.
than the NFL.
Yeah, they tend to translate better because they're used to putting those balls in those small pockets. Pause. Where they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's not the guy's not just wide open. They can just fucking toss it up there, easy score.
But he was definitely a student in the game. I remember when he first came in, he was always studying and going over things and make sure he was prepared. So, and that's why I feel like he's a great coach now.
Dorsey. Yeah. What was it playing like? What was it like playing for Harbaugh?
Me and him have the same birthday, so I thought we was gonna get along, but we really didn't.
Oh, really?
But we kind of did. But it was just like we bumped heads at times. But when I see him last year, we had our 10-year reunion for the Super Bowl class, and I said to him, I said, "You're not the same coach when you coached us." And he's like, "I had to change." I know I could tell because the guys are different. They're more sensitive. And he was just saying, I said, "So what year did you realize you had to change?"
So you heard it here first, folks. Today's NFL players are both small, weak, and sensitive. Bryant McKinnie says today's NFL players are smaller, weaker, more sensitive.
I mean, from what I'm told from coaches, that you can't yell they would yell at us.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You can't because they'll
well,
shut
they don't
down.
have two-a-days. They don't,
They don't have
there's
2 days either. But you yell at them. Yelling at us, it would make us go out there and probably play harder. Yelling at them, the person can tend to shut down, and then they don't.
Yeah, kind of go into their shell.
Yeah, and they
like-
can't afford that. So to me, you're sensitive.
For
Yeah,
sure. For sure. But also, like, I get it on a certain level. You can yell at a college kid. You can kind of like come off in more of an authoritative manner. But if you're 10 years in the league, you're a grown man. You got kids of your own. Like, don't fucking yell at me.
I had teammates who had to remind coaches, I got to do it in college. Like, who you talk to? Like, they would get back
Yeah,
with them.
really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because you still have to have a level of respect. Like, you're the coach, but you're not the parent.
Yeah,
like,
you're
you're not
not
like,
dad,
you can't
yeah.
talk crazy.
Yeah.
But they would argue that back, But now, people just kind of like sometimes just.
You can't be a
Show.
geek either, though, because you get run over. Like, that's the second, I saw Ben McAdoo's haircut and ill-fitting suit. I was like, this dude ain't going to work in New York. It ain't going to happen. These guys are not going to be like, shut up, nerd. There's just no way. You still have to be a leader of men, I would imagine, right? Like, I think look at what Prime is doing out in Colorado. Like, You know, who doesn't want to play
Dan
for Prime?
Campbell.
Yeah, Dan
those
Campbell.
type of Vrabel, like those guys
Vrabel.
who've been in it,
Men.
like are
Yeah.
men.
Yeah, Tomlin. I mean,
Tomlin,
nobody
yeah.
does more with less in the NFL than Mike Tomlin.
I feel like a lot of guys who have played, it's easy for them to relate to the guys who are playing.
Right.
Those, like, I've had coaches who's never played before, and it's like, but you are supposed to be like this pro, or like you're supposed to be like
Bro,
so
it's-
knowledgeable.
Well, that's
I
hard
feel
though.
that
You've
100%
never done it
in
before.
fighting. There'll be guys who just they did one of the sports, and then they come to MMA, and they'll be like, oh, these guys are bitches. Like these guys are. It's like you never did it.
Right,
Fuck
so it's
you-
hard
how
for you
you
to
gonna,
relate.
how you gonna call people bitches when you never even did it?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's
That's
like a disconnect there.
well, it's weird because in your sport, I mean, you're in the cage and you're fighting, but you have coaches for like each discipline.
That's because it's
You
hard.
know?
Yeah, and I think it'll change, but it's hard to be you could be a master in one discipline, but we all have to be world class in like 3-4 disciplines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Got to be good striker, good wrestler, you know what I mean? Grappler, all that shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you'll have different coaches that specialize in different things. You know, so
I
it's kind of
almost-
hard. But I think one day they'll. You know, I think the evolution of the game now, kids are growing up doing MMA.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
rather than just doing I boxed and now I'm going to learn to wrestle because I want to fight.
I almost wonder to that point if there's overcoaching in today's NFL. You hear about, well, this is our outside line coach, this is our inside line coach, this is our run game coordinator, this is our pass game coordinator, this is our offensive coordinator. It's like
Too many voices.
What's going on here?
Yeah, too many voices.
Who's
right?
saying, like, who do I listen to? You know,
Yeah.
like.
Sorry.
What's you
Little photo op.
So, you know, like, does an offensive line coach at your level actually do anything, or like are you
Yeah.
listening to offensive coordinator, the head coach? Like, whose voice
The
matters
offensive line
most?
coach is the one who teaches you like the technique, and you actually go over the plays with them. The offensive coordinator, I guess, is the overall for everybody, but
Sure.
you break down the position groups.
Now, that 2001 team, Mick, you remember there was a commercial, right? Because the Bengals were like
Yeah, we
0
were
and
talking
16.
about this last night. I
Yeah.
remember them and it was a popular opinion that like Miami,
2001
college would beat the Cincinnati Bengals.
0 and 16 Bengals
you know?
at the time.
They're like, yeah, they're. And now, what do you guys think about that? Because
think
you
they- I
gotta
think-
be like, that'd be a fucking game.
I think the
You know what
University
mean?
of Miami, as much as I love that team, would have lost by 48 points to
because
the NFL.
because there are on
I
the
don't know
NFL
about
is every
48.
one of a professional player.
I don't know about 48 points, but
You don't think you would have got boat raced by the Bengals?
48 points, I think, no, not 48.
Really?
We would have probably lost because you have just it's different strength levels too. Like I feel like I got stronger
man.
by the time. Yeah, when you hit 27, it's like a different grown man strength, and it's just technique things that you just know that you continue to learn as you get in the league. But 48 points, I don't think about 48 points because I mean it was still.
Hey,
like,
I don't think 48 points.
Yeah,
Either. Charles.
48.
They
Gerard's
had
tripping. But
they had 30 pros
they had 30
on that
pros.
team.
How many pros on the Bengals?
There was 56 pros on the Bengals.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. That's the part where I could say, yeah, they probably wouldn't win. But
Yeah.
I bet they put on that team put on a fucking.
Yeah, like we
Make it a
would
dog fight.
have fought. Especially we knew what was at stake too. Like we're at college and it's like we would have put up a fight. But
That's a Super Bowl.
48. Nah, 48.
really, think it would have been close?
It could have been. I would say 21, but not 48.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair
that's
enough.
fair. That's fair.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
That's like, hey, less than a touchdown a quarter. I'd take that.
Yeah.
That's not bad.